Hello everyone, welcome back to the Flicks Files. About a month ago, I uploaded a video about movie novelizations and how they were the kind of spoilers of the day. And if you wanted to know about the story of a movie before it was released, you could buy the novelization a little while beforehand and read through that, and you would know pretty much the entire thing. And when I was looking through my film books, I thought, there's another video opportunity here, which is making of books. And, I think of these as kind of the precursor to DVD and Blu Ray extras that we so much love today. So I thought it would be quite fun to go through some of these with you. Well, all the ones that I have. I don't have many of them. I have a few. Because there's some quite interesting ones in there that you may like, certainly if you have the same taste in movies that I do. And I suppose before the making of books were a real thing, the only other way you could find out about how movies were made was through magazines. Movies like Starburst and Starlog come to mind. And I was a very early subscriber to Empire magazine. And I just thought I'd show you here. This is the issue of Empire from November 1989. And they had a really nice kind of, 4-page spread of the making of The Abyss. That's a very interesting read. Obviously, it doesn't go into depth with the amount of detail that the documentary does that's on the 4K. But it was a good starting point. And so, it was nice that they did release a series of books on specific movies to go through in more depth as to how they were made. So that's what I want to show you today, is the ones that I have. So let's get started. Okay, so the first kind of making of book that I want to show you for a specific film. This is more of kind of a middle book between a magazine and a book. The quality of it feels more like a high-end magazine than a book. But it's the official movie book of Aliens. Obviously, as a huge Alien fan, when Aliens was about to be released, I was really excited to learn as much about it as I could. And so I remember seeing this in the newsagents and picking it up. And, it's a very good read. It tells you a significant amount about the production of the movie, and there's a lot of quotes and some very nice photographs. And there's also some very nice posters in the back that I've only unfolded a couple of times, but I'm always scared of bending them or damaging them. So I've not even removed them from the book. They're just still in there attached. So, it's a good little collectible. I believe copies are still existing on eBay. I remember trying to look on eBay for the official kind of movie program of Alien, which was the leaflet they would have sold in the box office when it was in the cinema. And while I was looking for that, I saw a few copies of this still out there in the wild. Yeah, so nice little book. If you're a fan of the movie, it's worth trying to get a copy. And the next one is the Book of Alien. This is a reprint, but this book was originally released in 1979. So I don't have an original copy. This is one I picked up quite later. And again, it's a very nice book. It has some nice background information, some very nice photographs. I would say 2/3 of the book is more conceptual art by Ron Cobb and Chris Foss, which is no bad thing because collectively their artwork is absolutely gorgeous. So if you want to learn more about the actual making of the movie and what was involved, you're probably better picking up one of the other high-end books that are available, like The Alien Vault by Ian Nathan is the one that I really recommend. But as an Alien fan, I had to pick this one up. The price on it is £10. As I say, I only bought this fairly recently, within the last 10 years, so maybe copies are still out there, so it's quite easily obtainable. The next one is the official book of the Batman movie from 1989. I was desperately wanting to see this, as were pretty much everybody in the world, if the box office was anything to go by. So again, when I saw this in the newsagents, I just had to pick it up. Lots of really nice photographs of the props that they used. Some nice behind the scenes information. Just very, very interesting. They've never really done a full in-depth making of documentary of the original Batman. So the last time I read through this, I certainly remember thinking, well, that tells me all that I really need to know about this movie. So it's just a good indication of how books can sometimes be even more informative than some of the best making of documentaries that are out there. So yeah, that's a very good book. The next book is Timothy Dalton's second Bond movie, License to Kill. I've said quite a few times on my channel that The Living Daylights is my favorite Bond movie. So when The License to Kill was nearing release, this book came out. And this is a very exhaustive account of the making of that movie. And again, it's way more in-depth and informative than the License to Kill making of documentary that's on the official Blu Ray. So that's a good starting point. But if you're a real Bond fan and you want to learn a lot more, then this is the book to get. And yeah, it's a very good Bond book. It's one of my favorite Bond books. Not my all-time favorite Bond book. I'm going to get to that shortly. But this is a damn good read. And I mean, £6.95, and that's when I bought this back in 1989. So whether there are copies still out there on eBay, I'm not sure. But if you're a Bond fan and you don't have this book, it might be worth trying to track it down. The next one is The Making of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Much like the other books I've mentioned, I was just desperate to see this when it came out. So when I saw this book, I thought, I've got to get this. And much like the two previous books I've shown you, this is a very, very in-depth walkthrough of the making of the movie. Certainly, there's more information than there is photographs in this book, which is no bad thing. So it's a very good read if you're a massive James Cameron / Terminator fan, as I'm sure most of you are. So yeah, nice one to have in my collection. This next one was a kind of a guilty pleasure buy. It is one of my favorite movies. I know a lot of people deride this film, but I absolutely love it. And I will defend it to my dying breath, which is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I picked this copy up from eBay about 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know why I didn't buy it back in 1991 when the movie came out. I guess I just didn't know about it, or it wasn't in the shops in my town. But much like the License to Kill making of book, this is of a very similar vein. Lots of nice color photographs, and it goes behind all of the things that happened behind the scenes, the casting, the set design, the filming, lots of kind of publicity photographs, probably more of those than actual behind the scenes pictures, if I was to be brutally honest. But I'm such a fan of the movie that I just had to get a copy of this. So yeah, it's a nice book to have. I'm glad I've got it. Okay, the next one is possibly the largest format book of the ones that I've got, which is the book of James Cameron's Titanic. You have to remember, it's kind of bizarre thinking back now, but I would have bought this book before this movie came out. Within, usually they would release these just a couple of weeks before the movie was released. So it's hard to imagine a world before Titanic, the movie, came out and everybody was talking about it. I always remember just being excited for Titanic because I thought, well, every other movie James Cameron has done, I've absolutely adored. And just the prospect of seeing him tackle like a period drama and then covering the sinking of the Titanic and the clips that I'd seen on television just got me so excited for this movie. So this was another one of those that when I saw it on the bookshelf, I just picked it up without even flicking through it. And yeah, it's a very nice book. This one does have a lot of behind the scenes photographs in it. So it's a really nice companion piece. If you have the, the Blu Ray or the 4K, it gives you a lot more information that's not covered in those documentaries. So the Titanic book. This is possibly my all-time favorite James Bond book. I've got quite a number of James Bond books, and I will definitely be doing a video about those at a later date. But I'm going to show you this one now because it does have behind-the-scenes information in it for all of the Bond movies. This was released in 1987, timed with the release of The Living Daylights. My sister bought me this book for my birthday. And as you can see, the condition of it's still tip-top. I've really looked after it, and I just adore this book. So it covers all the Bond movies from Dr. No up to The Living Daylights. And I'll just show you the format. What I'll do, I'll stop on a particular one. Let's go with The Spy Who Loved Me. So the format of the book is you'll have the, like an overview of the story and what the assignment is. And then it will have a section about the enemy of the movie, the main protagonist. So there's a section there about Carl Stromberg and Jaws. And then as we flick through, it goes on to the Bond girl. And then there's albeit a small section about the actual background of the making of the movie. And then you have more technical details at the bottom, as in the runtime and the director and things like that. And I've always loved this book because of its simple style and its layout. And I remember reading through it many times. What I would normally do when I'd have a Bondathon, as I'd call it, and I'd just start watching all the Bond films in order, I would always start by reading the particular section of this book for the movie that I was going to be watching before I watched it. So it just gave you a nice bit of a refresher and, reading up on the background before you actually saw the movie. So it's an absolutely lovely book. And I would highly guarantee that if you don't have this in your collection and you are a Bond fan, then I would really try and find this on eBay or from somewhere and get a copy. They did release an updated version when License to Kill came into the cinemas. But as I say, that isn't this particular book. The last Bond movie in this book is The Living Daylights, which was the section I've probably read the most amount of times because that was the movie that I was absolutely desperate to see when I got this book. So yeah, beautiful book, and I'm so happy that I've got this in my collection. So while I was looking through my books, I thought, well, other than magazines and specific making of books, you could also get information from like the official movie pamphlets, I'm going to call it, that you could normally buy at the box office when you went to see the movie. I've got only one of these. Now, there was a time when I had a few more of these. I used to have Star Trek II Wrath of Khan and Blade Runner. And for the life of me, I don't know what happened to them, whether they got lost in a house move or something. I really don't know. But this is the only one I have surviving, which is the Star Trek The Motion Picture. So if you imagine you go to see Star Trek The Motion Picture at the cinema when it was first released, you walk into the box office to buy a ticket, and they would have a stack of these piled up next to the ticket booth, and you could buy a copy. And this is the one that I got for Star Trek The Motion Picture. So it gives you like nice background information on the cast, the aliens in the movie, some nice photographs of the Enterprise. And then you had some production notes. So it would talk about, aspects of making the movie. So that's why I feel this is a good addition to this little collection of making of books. And I'm a massive fan of Star Trek The Motion Picture. I think it gets lost in the pantheon of Star Trek movies. It doesn't get the love it deserves. And I'm definitely going to be doing a movie just about this, a video, should I say. So I'm going to be giving this a lot more love. So if you want to see how that turns out, then please subscribe to my channel. So yeah, Star Trek The Motion Picture, one of my prized little collectibles. I've actually got a few other Star Trek the Motion Picture curios that I will save and for the motion picture video that I'll be doing. So suffice to say, this isn't the only Star Trek the Motion Picture collectible thing that I've got. Now, the other two remaining things I've got to show you are just two little curios of kind of other pamphlets stroke booklets that you could get that had a little bit of production background. Back in the VHS days, I used to buy a lot of VHS tapes, and Paramount did a thing where some of their movies, they'd include a booklet in the cassette box. And I have one that I kept, and it's this one. And it's for, let me try zooming in a little bit. I'll just move the camera. It's for Patriot Games starring Harrison Ford. So if you imagine you open up your VHS box and this little booklet was inside, you know, and it has like, there we go, the making of Patriot Games. So albeit a small amount of detail, but I was happy to have it because, you know, very rarely would they have any kind of making of documentary on VHS tapes. There was probably a few out there that would have like little 5-10 minute kind of TV spot making ofs on, you know, at the end of the movie, but it was a rare thing. So I think this was a nice thing that they did, how they popped these in the VHS box. So I must have just took this out of the box when I sold the original VHS. So, you know, I'm glad I kept it. It's a nice little thing. So this was from, what year was this? 1993. So the last one I want to show you is, again, some big blockbuster movies did a thing where, much like with Star Trek the Motion Picture, when you were stood in the ticket office to buy your ticket, you could buy the official movie program, but they also would have little free leaflet handouts that you could get. And this is the only surviving one I have, and it's for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So this was one that I picked up in the cinema when I went to see it. In terms of background, making of information, this is the absolute sparsest. I guess the only thing is the photograph of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg behind the scenes. But I kind of like it as a little collectible curiosity. And it kind of just nicely unfolds. So, and this time he's bringing his dad, and then it opens out even more, you know, so you have a little spread of photographs from the movie. Yeah, and I thought that was also a nice little, again, is it a making of? No, it isn't really. But I thought, well, I just wanted to show it you because it kind of appeared when I was looking through my film books. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'll put that in the video as well. Why not? Okay, so that's my, albeit very small collection of making of books that I have. I do have quite a few more books in my collection. Certainly, I've got a few James Bond related books, but I'll save those for a later video. So that's my book collection, video number 2. While I've got you, I just want to quickly say that I'll be uploading videos every Tuesday and Friday. So if you'd like to see what else will be coming up on this channel, then by all means, click subscribe. It would really help me. And, you know, as they say on YouTube, ring that little bell and you'll be given a notification of when I upload a video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.